going on, everybody? It is your boy Arrows, and we are here with another Azurite Sea Lorcana trading card game. Kind of going over some of the new cards we've gotten over the weekend. Unfortunately, was not able to get this video out over the weekend with the cards that were revealed to us on Friday because I was super busy with work. Work was busy all weekend. I was out all day Saturday playing Lorcana, ironically enough, and streaming for Sammy Aran's Red Blue Anniversary Shiny Hunting event. But we are here now. We got some new cards today that we're going to talk about. We got some new cards yesterday, but again, I was busy at work. Craziness. It is what it is. So we're going to get in. So over total, we gotten about 6 new cards over the weekend and yesterday. I'm going to talk about them. I have them in kind of like an order of usefulness to not usefulness. So we're going to get into the cards that I don't think are going to make a huge impact on the current meta. That being Pixie Dust, Mr. Smee, and Fairy Ship. Fairy Ship they all have phenomenal art. Like, if you won Lorcana games on great art alone, these 3 cards would definitely be contenders. Fairy Ship is a location. It gives you one passive lore at the start of your turn. It's a 1-drop inkable. It costs 1 to move something here and has 4 defense. Honestly, you're not running this in an Amethyst deck over Queen's Castle and Library. You're not. There's just no point. It doesn't give you any actual advantage in the game outside of the passive lore. Queen's Castle gives you more, and that and Library both give you card draw. Pixie Dust is an item. It's uninkable, 4-drop for Amethyst. You can tap it and pay 2. Chosen character gets Challenger +2 and evasive until the start of your next turn. And when it's challenging, it gets +2, and it can only be challenged by characters with evasive. This card, I want to like this card, but Amethyst just has other ways of getting you these things. We have Peter Pan that gives we have Peter Pan and Peter Pan's Shadow, which gives both the rush and evasive for Amethyst. In Emerald, there's a Tinkerbell that gives evasive. The Merlin Crab gives you Challenger. There are other cards that do what this does. Like, obviously, the benefit to this is that it gives it to you every turn, that you can pay the 2. But honestly, 2 seems a little steep for an effect that in my opinion isn't game breaking. But again, I am not the best Lorcana player, so maybe I'm not seeing something with this card. If you guys have differing opinions on this card, let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear your thoughts on this card. If you think it's good, how you would play it, if you think it's playable at all. And then rounding out the cards that I don't think are going to make any kind of impact on the current meta is Mr. Smee. He's a 3/2, cost 2, steal, quest for 1, and he's a pseudo evasive. So during our turn, he has evasive. On our opponent's turn, he doesn't. Honestly, there's no reason to run this over the Into the Inklands Mr. Smee. That's 2 defense less than that one. It quests for 1 less. Honestly, if you're playing Steel and you want to run Mr. Smee, you're running that one from Into the Inklands. I don't think this one has a spot in any deck. It's got great art. I freaking love the art. Mr. Smee capturing Tinkerbell in his hat. That is phenomenal art. I love it. But again, I just don't think it has that playability. But again, I could be wrong. But in the case of this one, I don't think I am. We already have a bunch of other pseudo evasives. Cruella for Sapphire. There's a Jafar and another one for Steel in itself. Just not really a ton of playability here for Mr. Smee. Now, getting into the 3 cards that were released that I think could see some play, we're talking about Peter Pan, Neverland Prankster, Captain Hook, Underhanded, and Tinkerbell, Queen of the Azurite Fairies. We'll start with Peter Pan because I think out of all these 3, he has the most potential playability. Yes, he is 7. He's inkable. He's a 4/6 on his stat line. Quests for 1. Look innocent, he enters play exerted, and you might think that's not a really good ability, but can't take a joke. While this character is exerted, each opposing player can't gain lore unless one of their characters has challenged this turn. Now, when you think about that, if your opponent has any locations out, they won't give them their passive lore because you haven't quested at the start of your turn. So that's a cool way to shut off like stuff like Queen's Castle. I don't really know what other big locations are played besides Queen's Castle. The library doesn't give you any lore. But so this has a lot of potential of shutting down. And also, you can't Lucky Dime. You have to challenge into this character first. I think 7. I think the 7 ink cost is going to make him a little bit. We're going to make people want to stay away from him a little bit, but I think there's a ton of potential here with this, being able to stop your opponent from gaining passive lore. If they have anything else on the field that gives them lore at their turn before they're able to challenge. Right there, it's off the table. Just a I think it's got a lot of potential. 7 might be a little too steep for it to see play, but I definitely think there's something there. Captain Hook is a neat little tech card, I think. Coming in at 3 ink, 1/4 on the stats. It quests for 2. When this character is exerted, opposing pirate characters can't quest. And that is really awesome because it stops. Two of like stops 2 of Steel Song's big early plays in Mr. Smee and Piglet. Piglet and Mr. Smee are both pirates. As long as Captain Hook is on the field and exerted, they can't challenge. I think this has a really good potential in something with bodyguards, because you have to attack the bodyguard first, letting Captain Hook stay on the field. This is a really cool way of stopping your opponent from gaining some extensive early lore with Piglet and Smee, as they're both going to quest for 2 and 3, and you can shut that down really good. Also, Piglet and Smee aren't overly powerful. 2/2 on Piglet, 3/3 on Smee. So if you pair this up with a strong bodyguard, I think you can keep this hook around and really shorten out some of those early plays. Is it going to see a ton of play? No, but I definitely think, like the Peter Pan, there is something there that you can really mess around with. And then that leads us into Tinkerbell, Queen of the Azurite Fairies. This is a Floodborn, ally, queen, fairy, captain. That's a lot of little extra things that you can get powered up off of. It's going to get powered off of the Duke. What's his name? I think it's just the Duke. Like gives your princesses, queen characters, king characters an extra +1, I believe, on there. Yeah, the Grand Duke gives them an additional +1 on their attack, which is really cool. It's got obviously captain, so it's gonna, if you play it in steel, you can keep your Smees alive. Lots of cool things. Floodborn is also really good. It's a shift 5, so you can shift it onto another Tinkerbell. For you can shift it on another Tinkerbell for 5, which is instead of paying a 7. We do have a solid list of like smaller Tinkerbells. There is a 4-drop that is inkable in Emerald. There's a 5-drop in Sapphire that is really good. There's obviously the 6-drop Giant Fairy. There's another Steel 3-drop. Obviously, I feel like we'll probably get more Tinkerbells in this set as well. But I actually think that her ability is probably really cool. Whenever she quests, all your other fairy characters gain a +1 lore this turn. Now, there's not a ton of reliable fairy characters you can use this with. Emerald has the good fairies from Sleeping Beauty. They're decent. You could really get stuff off of that. Steel has obviously our Tinkerbell, our Giant Fairy Tinkerbell, which is also a Floodborn, which is cool. Honestly, I see this working really well with the purple fairies that we have. We have a bunch of decent purple fairies. We have the blue fairy, who is evasive as well. And whenever you play a Floodborn character, you get to draw a card. She's a 2-drop. She quests for 1. We have a 5-drop fairy godmother that's kind of vanilla. She's kind of like the worst of them. We have a 3-drop fairy godmother that says when you play a Cinderella, you may exert chosen character. We do have a bunch of we do have some 2 steel Cinderellas that you could work this with if you really wanted to mess around with that. And we also have the shifting 5-drop legendary fairy godmother from Rise of the Floodborn that she shifts for 2. And then when you play her, you can, whenever this character quests, your characters gain challenger +3, and when this character is banished in a challenge, it gets put back to your hand. So that's really cool. She's a two. She's a 2 lore quester. She'd be a 3 with this ability. Obviously, we have the giant fairy Tinkerbell. She's a 2-drop. If there's nothing there that you want to challenge, she can quest for 3. I think this card has. I don't think it's going to be like super top tier, but I definitely think there's could be some cool decks that you can make with it. I like that it just gives you all of your additional fairy characters +1 across the board. I think that's really cool. Obviously, we have other combinations that we can do, that we can combo her up with. Like there is a Tinkerbell in Amber, but it's okay. It's not that great. But I definitely feel like you have a potential here with like with the other purple fairies, especially the blue fairy, because the fairy godmother, the Tinkerbell, the giant fairy, and this Tinkerbell are all floodborn, so you're gonna get some card draw in there as well, and you can put in some other good floodborns in that, which would be very good for you as well. I don't think it's gonna be like, game breaking, but I definitely think there is some potential there as we move into this new set. And obviously, we still have so much of this set that hasn't been revealed yet. So obviously, these cards are going to work really well with other cards that we get in this set as well. So let me know what you guys think about the card reveals we got over the weekend and on Monday. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Ding the notification bell if you want to be alerted to whenever we post any more Lorcana or Dragon Ball Super content. Eventually, I'm going to get more Pokemon content on here. And don't forget to follow me on my other socials. We are Arrows Gaming all across the board. But I definitely want to hear your guys' thoughts on these cards, what you think they're going to do, what you're excited for, if you think we're going to get more interactive cards with these cards that we've already seen going forward in the set. Like I said, there's still so much of Azurite Sea that hasn't been revealed yet. The set comes out, I believe, in November. So definitely going to be a lot more going on with this set. Going to see what other cards we get that make maybe these cards look a lot better than they do now. But let me know what you guys think. As always, stay safe out there. I will see you when I see you. And have yourselves a great day, week, or weekend, or month, whenever you're watching this. See ya.